Hey, what's going on? This is Billy Newman, and thanks a lot for listening to the Billy Newman Photo Podcast. Thanks a lot for checking out this audio feed. It's kind of cool. I'm trying to put up more stuff to it, and trying to double post or kind of keep something coming out once a day, once every other day. A couple of these sort of mobile recordings a week, a couple full podcast episodes from some part of the feed, a couple updates. I guess that's what we're going for. But it's going good. Talking about some of the photo stuff that I'm up to. I just posted a Hawaii clip. It was a clip from Maui, this video clip. It was just a fun, quick clip. I think Marina took it of us kind of going through a bunch of the waves. I remember it was really cool, and I like this video clip. But like I was saying on that last podcast, how I was going through, and I've been trying to pick out a bunch of the old video clips from different places that we've been to put up and kind of show and just kind of make use of. There's so many of those that I never really put up, and I've been thinking about that, like I was talking about. I really want to shoot more video, and I'm really excited to do that with some of the new camera equipment I'm getting into. I've talked about that stuff a lot, but shooting more video, shooting more clips, and kind of multitasking around photography, all that stuff is what I've been talking about, and something that's kind of interesting to me of how do you do both of those things at the same time, and how do you do that without really letting something suffer, or something not come together as well as it's supposed to. And part of that's kind of the planning part of that's the anticipation part beforehand, of like sort of what you're setting up, what you're organizing before you get going when you're shooting a project or when you're doing photographs for somebody. But that also kind of brings up at least a topic or some part of it about photography. I think I maybe mentioned this before. And then sort of the perspective, like the root perspective you have when you're working as a photographer. And I don't know if I really have the right words for it. Maybe you guys would think about it better, but I kind of think about it as like a producer and an artist, which is sort of the two sides of photographers that I seem to see them fall into, where some of them are trying to produce for a job or produce for a task that they have placed in front of themselves. And even really good people, even people that work as artists would really fall into this, where they're trying to accomplish the need. They're trying to kind of organize something into a product and then finalize it, realize it in some way. And that's kind of what I think of as the producer's mindset, which I've probably been a lot before. But I've also been trying to think more about the creator or the artist's mindset, about what they're looking for, like how they're trying to anticipate new things, how they're trying to bring new elements into what they're up to. And what you see a lot in photographers is it's kind of interesting. Photographer is sort of a divining rod between producer and artist. Artist or painter, you'd really never consider that archetype of creator to be the production type, or to be just sort of business oriented or process oriented. Process in the sense of just trying to put more pieces together, trying to put out more elements faster. That's like a volume-based shop, but it's not a quality-based shop, or it's maybe not quality. There's volume, and then there's uniqueness, or just kind of thinking about supply and demand. It seems like that's like sort of I don't know, all those words sort of seem to be floating around each other. Kind of all around this idea of the producer and the artist or the creator. But I've been trying to think more about the art side of it. I've really been trying to do that since I started working and taking photographs with film. And it's weird to say that that's sort of what kicked me into that. But for a long time, I kind of pictured digital photography as an archival process, that what you're supposed to do is sort of go around, and since it's inexpensive or nearly infinitely cheap to take and then store the data of a photograph, then you're kind of supposed to just go around, and as inexpensively as you can store it, you're just supposed to go around and kind of capture things and the status quo of what they are, and then archive that so you can go back to it and see what it's like. But you're not really supposed to add a lot to it, or put flavor into it, put art into it, or make it really beautiful. It's just sort of what we see a lot in photography over the last 15 years is just sort of this archival data collection thinking behind it, or where you're producing. Like, I work as a production photographer. It's like the production side of it. It's not artistically based or brand based or color based. There's not really an art director behind it putting it together. It's just always the same thing. It's the same side shot of a product or corner angle shot of a product. And so that's the production side. The art side like I was saying, the film side of it. That's really why I started doing it when I was doing another production photography job, when I was working on the Rogue River taking photos of the rafters that would come down. That's a production-oriented job where I have to fulfill 800 photographs that need to be produced every day between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And then I build those and then sell those back, and I hardly ever sell more than 10 of them back. But I remember thinking at that time I was working so heavily in digital, I was shooting so many photographs, and I was completing a job. I was kind of finishing the product that it needed to be. But I didn't really feel like I was being patient enough, or kind of taking in enough, or anticipating enough, being intuitive enough to put together stuff that I thought was art, or stuff that was making me grow as a creative person, or grow toward being better in photography. And that's sort of the pitfall of the production side of photography, the production side of creative stuff, of art, is that it feels like you don't really get to do the anticipation, the building, the kind of, I don't know, just the more joyful, considerate side of making something that feels new and feels right and good, and that's a feeling that I've had for a long time about different projects that I do. I'm sure I stress way too much about those sorts of thinkings, but yeah, it's kind of talking about production, the creative side. I don't know. I've been trying to work more in film. So that's why I wrote that book back in 2012, 2013, after our road trips. I was really trying to be focused on the creative side, on the intuitive side, on the, I don't know what it is really, but just the more ephemeral part of capturing the phenomena that is making photographs, of really like capturing something that's unique and special to that time, and putting a lot of yourself into it, having a lot of yourself reflect in the photographs that you make. And it sort of seems like if you're not really thinking about it a lot, I know creators sort of start to talk about that side of things a lot, and it sort of sounds blowhardy, so sorry about that. But it does kind of seem to get that way, where you're talking about your craft and how good you are at it. I don't really want to talk like that, but I thought it was kind of an interesting idea to sort of think about the creative side, the artistic side, and how to build stuff. And I think that started with, what was I talking about, like Hawaii at the beginning of it, or posts that I'm making, something like that. But I'm trying to go back through all of these things. Oh yeah, shooting photos at the same time. That's a production side of things. You're like working as a media producer at that time. And maybe you're not so much, not to say always, but you're maybe not so much working as an artist, working as that intuitive creator to make something that's real and new. And so I've been trying to think about that as at least a way of balancing the two. I work in production photography a ton, even weddings or something, it's still like, it's a job, it's a task. It's like, it's kind of on rails in a sense. It's like a whole event and a whole event that's sort of moving along on a timeline, and you have to be in spots and kind of capture different things, but you kind of achieve the accomplishment. You know it's going to happen, and then you achieve producing the product that is expected of you. And that's kind of different than sort of intuitively recognizing what you're supposed to do, or kind of finding beautiful things and then capturing them more intuitively. And that's the kind of photography I like a lot. But I know that in both cases, it's really just work, and it's kind of just what you end up expressing with it. I've seen both people kind of do both things. But as it goes for recording video and making photos at the same time, it seems like I'm trying to set up some way to do that passively, so that the video is just sort of going all the time, or that there's video that's being recorded. But I'm trying to get out of the position where I have to always keep setting it up to go, or I have to keep figuring out how I'm going to get like video clips of something. Maybe it'll be a lot easier now that I'm going to have an SLR, or it's not even an SLR anymore, but that I'm going to